know that all the time that you're in this business and you can help them in this respect. But here's something fun. And the fun thing is this video vlog show. And my thing is about around the neighborhood. It just means I'm just finding interesting stories around the neighborhood I live and work and in the state that I live in, as well as I did a special series on the Paris trip we did in Christmas.
Fantastic. I was very jealous, by the way.
Oh,
very jealous.
But you live vicariously through it. So I've been talking about your Netflix queue. I don't have a lot of time to watch a lot of like long-standing shows or binge watch.
Sure. Yeah.
I find myself watching YouTube travel vloggers and finding myself.
That's what you're interested in.
Yeah, but I've just found myself falling down that path, and now I'm like, oh, what do they do that I can apply to my work? And the only difference is that I, at the beginning and end of my videos, is that I'm letting you know that I offer real estate services. So that is my amplification to a higher priced product or service.
Yes.
And that's all it is. And that's actually freed up my time so that I can work on the next film project that I don't have to be so precious about, where the next independent film I make doesn't have to be the film doesn't have to be the thing that's going to make it for me, So that's why I need to add that back down to what we're doing here in Film Trooper. But I have to know, here's something interesting. I'm coming into as a new agent, and I'm with this understanding that there's going to be a technological shakeup in this industry as well. It's going to have an Uber moment. I don't know what that is, but it's going to shake it up. And so I'm looking at like what
it's
is
happening.
It's chipping away.
Like, why do we need agents? Why am I going to give you 5%?
Right. Yeah. What does that mean? Right.
That's going to happen. It's already kind of happening. It happened with what's that app that we watched that look at all the book? Zillow, right? Zillow, right? Yeah,
Zillow then bought Trulia, so you might be on Trulia.com. Redfin is another variations. They're actually a high-end brokerage. But
remember that information was held by brokers only before. I had to call someone like you to get that information because I didn't know where to buy a house. Where now I literally could just look up on my app and I'll see everything that you see, what it was bought for, when it was bought for, when it was sold for, I could do all of that. The only thing that real estate agents are good at this point is that human touch of trying to negotiate deals or try to, find a specific house that maybe is off the beaten path to kind of cut through the information. But that's basically it. And there's now other services that are coming out that are undercutting you guys completely, which is like, we only take 1% and we'll do all the stuff for you anyway. It's coming. And I look at that world. You just spent time, money to get your license. And in 5 years, there might be AI doing what you're doing. Being honest, it could happen.
Yeah.
Imagine if you just started. Imagine someone who's been doing it for 30 years and all of a sudden the whole industry is upended. Like you're a taxi driver and all of a sudden I'm your competition because I've got a Prius.
Right.
And I will never take a taxi ever again if I can help it. I will always take an Uber, a Lyft, or even a shuttle from the airport, because they're abusive. They're abusive. It's $120 to come home from the airport, from LAX to my house. Or I could take an Uber for $65, depending on the time of day, or I could take a shuttle for $40.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still stuck in the 120 and then they still and you're not going to tip me? Like their mind is so stuck in 1985 that they don't see, dude, you're a dinosaur and you're going to go the way of the dodo very, very soon. So all industries have it, man. Do you think this whole blogging, podcast thing, YouTube thing, you think that's going to last forever? No, it's not. It's going to shift. It's going to change. Something new will come out. Some new social media platform will show up. Remember when Snapchat showed up? Remember when Instagram showed up? Twitter, these are all new things, and they will continue to change. And there'll be new distribution models, and I don't know what that new distribution model will be, but wait until we start making movies on the holodeck. That's going to be the new thing. Movies are just not enough. You're going to have to go into an experience where you're literally living the experience. It's kind of like Stranger Days, that movie with Ralph.
Strange Days,
Ralph
Strange
Fiennes.
Days, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Strange Days, when they plug into the experience. You mean to tell me that's not possible? We're already there. To a certain extent, we're already there with Oculars and all that kind of stuff that's going on. and 360 and VR. Like, are you kidding me? Things are changing so rapidly, and by the time people see something change, like if you go to a 4-year school, honestly, man, it makes no sense anymore, man. Because by the time you walk into that school, by the time you leave, the business is shifted again. And we're shifting faster and faster and faster. What do you think the next 15 years are going to be like? Look at just as long as I've known you for 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? 3 years,
Yeah.
3.5 years I've known you since I opened Indie Film Hustle. How much has changed from the moment that I opened up Indie Film Hustle to now?
Oh, like I said, we were hinting at like Netflix had
Yes.
all this stuff. Like there's so many things. Like the landscape of digital distribution hadn't really worked itself out, but now we're getting to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's starting to settle down. And the second we settle it down, something's coming around the corner. Coming around the corner.
Well, Disney Plus is coming out, or whatever it is.
Disney Plus is coming out, and when Apple decides to throw their 800-pound gorilla butt in there, they're going to do something.
Like you said, and once they're, what happens when Netflix can't gain any more subscribers?
Well, they're kind of almost tapping out in the U.S., so that's why their new focus is global. But at a certain point, they're going to have everything they can get. Their market share is going to be what their market share is.
Right.
And they're, by the way, in a tremendous amount of debt. They're using the Amazon model of like 10 years of being in debt and not really being profitable and moving forward, because I know this from people who work on the distribution side it takes a while for them to get paid. It's insane.
Interesting. Do you know that Amazon's like really their number one profitable branch is their cloud, their storage?
Oh yeah, that's number one.
They basically own all these major companies. Netflix
uses them.
Pays Amazon to store all their content.
Yep.
Netflix has not built out anything to the infrastructure to support their model, and they pay a fee to Amazon to. That's crazy.
Which is insane because they're a competitor.
Yeah, but you know what? Amazon
doesn't care.
They don't care. Their arms are they have their hands and fingers and everything.
And what's the magic word of today's episode? Diversification. Yes. Amazon is extremely diversified. And I know one of the biggest profit things they have is Prime.
Yeah. It's
Prime.
$100. So all their subscribers.
It's $120 million. 100,
yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Subscription.
And their content that they have there is designed to sell socks. Well, in the theater chain, those movies are designed to sell popcorn. That's why you're spending $6 on a popcorn bucket, is because that's where they're making their money. And
you think that model is going to last for long? I can't see that. I mean, I go to how often do you go to the movie theater?
Not enough.
I mean, seriously, like how many times a year?
Maybe 4.
Like, right?
Yeah.
Like it's coming up around that. Miss Marvel's coming out, so we're going to go see that.
Yeah.
Like a big Avatar, when that gets released, we'll probably go see event movies, big event movies. I would not go to a theater to see a drama. Why? Because I have kids, I have a family, I babysitter, all this kind of stuff. So even if the 4 of us go to see a Disney movie, that's an $80, and we sneak in our popcorn because we're smart.
Yeah.
But if we had to spend the money to buy stuff there, guess what? This is a $120 deal to walk in to watch a movie. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Do you think that business model is going to survive? And God bless the theaters, man. They're trying. They're making the experience. The seats are better. There's bars. The food has gotten better.
So now they've got to be in the business of experience and not necessarily selling popcorn. And that's one of the things. Besides as we wrap up here, the 2 takeaways is diversify and also know the business that you're in. Because to explain a little bit about the real estate world thing, I chose that because humans have 3 basic needs: food, shelter, and clothing. So I happen to be in the shelter business. That's all. And the difference is how do I fit what is the business that I'm selling in that world of the shelter business? And my job is to sell aspiration, inspiration, emotion. Like I have to create this personal brand that when everything becomes so automated, that there's a small sliver that people still want authenticity and they want a personal connection, And if they enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm in the business to sell, aspiration, inspiration through the show, or it's really just, I need to simplify it so that I know that everything I branch off that has to serve that purpose of like, what is it I'm actually selling?
So what business is Film Trooper in?
Film Trooper is simply in the empowerment business. It's just to help empower. It's empower filmmaking entrepreneurs. So it's to give resources or education or anything, this conversation here is the information to give to them. And then that's it. Like, I can't skew off and like, I would not be serving the audience correctly if I just start putting on, because I did it a while. I would have some guests on that I'm like, why do I have this person on? It's like, they're not forwarding.
That,
yeah, we all have had it. And it's like one of those things, like, you feel sort of a sellout. Like, I'm just throwing out content for content's sake, and this is not where I want it to be. Like, I really want the content I'm delivering to resonate with this business of empowerment, of just saying, so, the ones who connect with us, the small number of group people who connect with us, they'll be like, I get it. I'm in that world. I'm not in the Rebel Without a Crew. I'm in shooting for the mob. Like I'm in that world, and I want to know that I can still thrive and find happiness and find creative fulfillment in doing these things. I have a friend through this who calls us the shadow artists. There are people that are working full-time jobs, but they still have this desire to be these shadow artists that do things. And so that's sort of the business that we're in. And that's how I see Film Trooper. How do you see Indie Film Hustle? What is the business of Indie Film Hustle?
I think I am on the umbrella side. I'm a media company, but underneath that, I'm an education and inspiration company. So that's what I'm selling. That's what I'm giving is education and inspiration, and those two things. But under the umbrella of a media company, and how I distribute that content is through media, through different forms of media, whether it be podcasts, books, videos, YouTube, blog posts. That is whatever content delivery service I have. The two things I deliver is education and inspiration. That's what I need to give out to my audience under the umbrella of a media company. And that's how I look at it.
And so you and I knowing that, it's like whatever happens to the landscape of, podcasts are no longer in, or this is no longer in, or vlogging is no longer in, it doesn't matter, because whatever the change of the landscape is, if you stay true to education and inspiration, that's how you were able to move around. And so we don't get caught like a company.
The podcast is obviously a large part of my business model, and also a large part of getting my content out there. A lot of people listen to my podcast, but I also diversified throughout multiple different places to release that information and release that content. So I'm not just relying on iTunes to get my message out there. I'm spread out through every medium that I can get my hands on. And then when new mediums come up, when new platforms come up, you've got to be proactive and jump on them as quickly as possible to see if it makes sense for you and your team, or excuse me, you and your brand, and move from there and to kind of go from there. But yeah, you gotta kind of keep the doors open, man, because there's so many things changing on a daily basis. I mean, look at Gary Vee, who's a guy that we follow all the time. I try to model myself as much as I can with him as far as content's concerned. He's got a team of 18 people that he pays full time, and he spends like $1 million or $2 million a year or something like that on all of his content. But he's building his brand, and then from that $1 million or $2 million investment, he gets paid, I think, $100,000 per keynote.
Yeah,
he does a couple of those a week or something like that. So he's doing all right. Not to mention Vander Media and all the other things that he's got going on. So that is you got to keep yourself open, and if you don't see what's going to happen, or at least start thinking about what's coming around the corner, because, man, it is changing so damn quick. By the time you realize what's happening, you're already in shark-infested waters, and you didn't even know, and there's blood around you everywhere. Like, you thought you were in a blue ocean, and all of a sudden it's done. So you've got to kind of keep changing, keep morphing, keep pivoting on a daily basis. It's not like the olden days where you could sit on your butt for 10 years doing the same thing. Those days are gone, and those dinosaurs will be left exactly where the dinosaurs are, extinct.
Yeah. There you go. I think that's a perfect way to wrap it up. Is there anything I'll put all the links and stuff into the show notes.
If you want to pre-order the book, it's